Welcome back, everyone. I'm Robin from This Blog's Neat, back with the tiny little microphone. And if you're new to this channel, welcome. The goal of this channel is that I am able to hopefully encourage you to be more curious about distilled spirits and other fermented beverages. And today I'm going to give you guys a recipe. Actually, I'm going to give you two. If you stay tuned till the end, I'll give you a second recipe. But the recipe that I'm going to give you today is for something that I think is simple, delicious, and refreshing, and pretty easy to make. This recipe is for my sparkling strawberry and peach mead. I was going to open a bottle of the sparkling strawberry and peach mead like when I recorded this video, but after my workout the other night, I just really wanted something nice and light and refreshing, and it was a Friday night, so I was like, I'm gonna have some booze. Yeah, and I couldn't really wait. I opened it up then, and it was lovely. I had it with dinner. Jerry enjoyed it right after his workout as well with dinner.
Wow, this smells really good. It smells like honey and strawberries. Is that what it is? Oh, this is really good. Mouthfeel, very syrupy, but it's not like too sweet. It's really good.
And then I brought a bunch over to a friend's house so that my friends could also enjoy it and I could get their opinions. I usually just get Jerry's opinion. I brought my tiny mic with me over to my friend's house as well, and I recorded everyone's review of the mead in full, like, influencer fashion with the mic. I was trying to really channel my inner influencer, which isn't that easy. So this is what they thought of the sparkling strawberry and peach mead.
It's got fruity nose. It's got a fruity nose.
Okay.
Fruity palate. Also super good. Really easy drinker. I like it a lot.
Okay.
That's good.
They tend to be very sweet, commercially produced. They don't have to be.
Oh, wow.
It tends to be. But I think
Wow, Robin.
a hard pivot from wine or something, which like it's like if you didn't ferment out everything in like a wine, right, or something like that.
Wow.
That means a lot to me because you do drink a lot more wine than I do. A lot more pink wine, sparkly wine, so that the wows mean a lot.
The mouthfeel from the start is incredible. And there's a subtle sweetness, but there's also like a sour tart element as well. But it's so balanced. It's so balanced.
Ooh, it smells delicious. Actually, it smells like some strawberry banana, something going on.
That's damn good. I paid all these people to say good things.
Okay, we're gonna have a little Korean lesson.
Yeah, okay.
We say 시원해, which means refreshing.
Ooh, okay.
시원해.
Lovely.
This is lovely, and this is very 시원해.
Thank you.
Very good for every day or summer.
Mm-hmm. This would be good for summer. Good thing it was warm today.
That LA weather.
It's a little sour to me, and I like this more than I like most wines.
Oh.
I
Whoa.
would also love to hear what mead actually is from you at a later date or time.
Once I put the microphone down, I will tell you. Even though he tasted this last night, how does it taste today versus last night?
Even better, because we're sharing it with friends, and that always makes drinks taste better. But I don't know if I said this last night, but did I say it? That it wasn't as sweet? And it's amazing. Yeah, it's definitely my kind of mead. I don't like a lot of mead. We've been trying to like mead. It's too sweet. This is not. It's refreshing.
Okay, so if you are one of my Patreons, you have already gotten this recipe. You have full instructions on how to do it and everything. So I do want to give a shout out to my Patreons. Thank you guys so much for helping to support the channel. Now, if you, the viewer, would also like to support the channel, you can like and subscribe and comment and share my videos and watch more of my videos. But you can also join us over on Patreon, and I'd be really, really thankful if you did. I've got a link in the description below where you can join us over there. So the recipe for my sparkling peach and strawberry mead starts with strawberries, peaches, and honey. This is how you get the mead. Now, the strawberries and peaches that I had were destined for the garbage that I collected from the farmer's market. They had bruises and blemishes, and some of them had some, we'll say, mold on them. They were already starting to degrade, some of them. So I had to bring them home and, wash them, cut off any pieces that were not going to be great to work with. And then I froze them. Now, freezing your fruits really helps to break down the cell walls, and this just helps with releasing juice from the fruits. So for this recipe, I would recommend for you just get already pre-frozen fruits. That's going to be great for you. Now, I had around 4 gallons of fruits. It was kind of like a 50-50 mix of strawberries and peaches. What does this equate to in pounds? I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure I've weighed one of my 2.5 gallon freezer bags of fruits before, and it was somewhere like 15 pounds, but I don't really remember. So because they're frozen, you need to defrost them, heat them up, and bring them to around, I would say 85 to 95 degrees Fahrenheit is like ideal for yeast, for at least pitching the yeast. Now, in my case, because these fruits were destined for the garbage, I did pasteurize them. So I brought them to where I started to see some boiling, gently heated them so they didn't scorch or develop any overly weird flavors by being like super cooked down. And I held that for several minutes to make sure I was heating everything thoroughly and that everything was being pasteurized. You don't need to do this. If you are getting them from the grocery store and they're already pre-frozen, you do not need to do this. Just heat them up and bring them to a temperature between, like I said, 85 and 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, the specific gravity of the juice that came out of these fruits, keep in mind, I didn't add any water. That's how much juice was released. The specific gravity was around 1.054. And I wanted to bring that up to 1.080. So I ended up adding 54 ounces of honey. Now, depending on the specific gravity of the juice that comes out of your fruits, you should add more or less. Brewer's Friend has a calculator on there where you can figure out how much sugar you need to add based on the starting specific gravity and your target specific gravity. So that can help point you in the right direction of how much honey you actually need to add. But adding around 54 ounces of honey if you want, and having a specific gravity a little higher, a little lower than what my starting specific gravity was, 1.080, then that's totally fine. That's just going to impact the final ABV of your mead. I also added the juice of 1 lemon and 1 teaspoon of pectic enzyme. I made sure to incorporate everything really, really well. And something that is also important before you pitch yeast is to make sure to agitate and really incorporate oxygen into your fermentation media. This will help the yeast as they're in their lag phase and starting to grow before they actually start fermenting. And finally, the thing that I added was yeast. And I went with a Red Star wine yeast that I happened to have a packet of in the fridge. This was Côte de Blanc. Is that how you would pronounce it? Just any wine yeast will do. A packet of any wine yeast. That would be great. And I didn't strain out the fruits before fermenting. I kept them in there. And that's because during the fermentation process, it actually makes it easier to remove the fruits. You'll notice that as it starts fermenting, there will be a nice fruit cap that forms on top. So yeah, that's the recipe for setting up the fermentation. So after a few days, I removed all the fruits from the fermentation and let it continue to ferment. I think at that point, it was down to around 1.033 specific gravity. And then maybe a week or two later, when I noticed that fermentation was slowing and that there was I was starting to see some sediment on the bottom of my fermenter, I re-racked again. The cats are now playing with Newton's balls. I don't know if you can hear that. Hold on, I'm going to show you. Between the construction noise and the cat noise, I'm not sure how many takes this is going to take. So at this point, you should be keeping an eye on your mead, watching to see, how the fermentation's going, has it fermented out dry or not, and looking for more sediment at the bottom of the fermenter. But for one reason or another, I completely put this aside. I think it was one of those projects that I was like, yeah, I'll work on it tomorrow. And tomorrow ended up being months later. So this just sat. I just let this sit for months. And I had kind of written it off as maybe I messed this one up. I should have kept an eye on it. Might not taste the best. And maybe I'll just distill it. That was kind of my mentality. So I re-racked it again and I tasted it and I was like, oh, wait, this actually tastes really good. So I decided to move forward. After all the re-racking, removing the fruits and everything like that, I had about 2.3 gallons of wine, of mead. And I also wanted to see if there were any yeast still left over, present, maybe somehow surviving. So I put a little sample under the microscope. I maybe took videos of this. If so, cut to some potential action under the microscope. But I didn't really see anything. There wasn't anything that said there's still life in here. So when it came time to bottling, I wanted to make sure that I was going to be able to carbonate this, or that it was going to be able to naturally carbonate. I didn't want this to be essentially an accidentally back sweetened flat wine, right? So when you go to bottle and you want it to naturally condition, the idea is that there's still some active yeast left over in your fermentation, and that adding a little bit of priming sugar will kind of bump that activity up again. But now you have a cap on your bottle and it's going to trap all that CO2. But I was afraid that was not going to happen since I didn't see any activity under the microscope. So I added in a little bit of yeast. Do not do this. You should not need to do this. It was just because I let mine sit for 3 months. 3 months. We'll say I let mine sit for 3 months, and it was just a little bit too long. Maybe 2 months too long. So like I said, I had 2.3 gallons or 8.7 liters of wine that I wanted to carbonate. In order to calculate how much honey I needed to add in, luckily Brewer's Friend also has a calculator for this. Now I set my volumes of CO2 to 3.0. I think that's around where champagne lives, is at 3.0. This is just the amount of bubbles that you want in your wine. And based on that calculation, I added 3.6 ounces of honey. Started all in, nicely incorporated it, and then, bottled my mead. This recipe for me yielded, I think, 11 bottles. These are normal size wine bottles, so 750 mils. I think there was 11. So after all the re-racking, the removing the fruits, etc., I got 11 bottles out of it. And I let it sit for a few weeks to make sure it was, building up that CO2. I would say at least wait. You could try it after 1 week. I would say at least wait 2 weeks before you refrigerate and then pop it open to see how it tastes. I waited about 3.5 weeks. And it was great. Yeah, it's just, my friends can vouch for me. It's just nice, light, and refreshing. And one of my biggest struggles with mead, which I'm sure I have expressed on this channel before, is that I have found meads to be pretty sweet. And I've tried a lot of meads. I'm very excited to try a lot of meads anytime I come across a meadery, and a lot of the times they are sweet. There's a lot of back sweetening that goes into making mead, so a lot of adding sugar after fermentation is over without the intention of carbonating. It's added to sweeten, and I like really dry meads. I've found one mead that I thought was exceptional and is nice and dry. I'm forgetting exactly what it's called. So yeah, that mead is this one right here. So yeah, I've only found one mead that I thought did a great job of actually being dry. I have gone to meaderies and had some of their dry and extra dry meads, only to be this is kind of cloying, which I don't want. And I don't think mead should, this is me shitting. I don't mean to shit on mead. I don't know that it needs to be sweet, but I don't necessarily want my mead to be luxurious and decadent. I'd rather it be sparkling and light and refreshing. And so that's what I was going for with this mead. And yeah, I really hope you try out this recipe. If you need more instructions or you need the recipe pared down or anything like that, please feel free to reach out to me. One of my Patreons, this is her first time brewing, and she asked for a pared down recipe. And I also gave her links to equipment that I would suggest getting. I've also posted a video on, how to start making wine, and my suggestions and everything like that. But yeah, please let me know if you have any questions at all. Now, I have made multiple batches of wine using these reject fruits, using these fruits that are destined for the garbage. And so I make wine out of them, and it feels kind of cool. It served a purpose, right? I diverted this waste stream from landfill, or at least most of it. However, when I strain out the fruits from the fermenter, they then go into my garbage. I don't have a compost. One day I will, but I'm still putting some food waste into the garbage. So I have been trying to figure out how to actually use this fruit, consume this fruit, so it doesn't end up in the garbage. And I found a recipe where I can do it, and it's actually delicious. I'm not a baker by any means. However, this recipe is derived from a banana bread recipe. So in place of the bananas, I use this fruit, this spent fruit, and it's wonderful. And I made some last night. Yeah, it's great. It's a great play on banana bread. Of course, it doesn't taste like banana bread, but it has the same texture and consistency. In place of the banana flavor is I kind of don't really know well, of course I know what kind of fruity flavors it is. Yeah, just a nice light fruitiness. I also put some raisins in it, and some cinnamon, because I love cinnamon and everything. So if you make this recipe, save the fruits. Or if you make any fruit wine, save the fruits and use them in this recipe, and let me know how it turns out. So this recipe calls for 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, 1.5 cups of your spent fruits, half a cup of butter, 1 cup of sugar, 2 eggs, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of salt, and half a teaspoon of vanilla, which I didn't have at the time. I used, that would be a nice addition to this, but I used cinnamon instead of vanilla. First thing to do is preheat your oven to 350 because you're going to bake this at 350. And then cream together the butter and sugar. Then add the beaten eggs and the fruit. Stir that all together. Add the flour, the baking soda, the salt, the vanilla, or in my case, cinnamon. I also mixed in some raisins. We'll call it like 2 handfuls of raisins. Make sure that's all mixed and incorporated well together. And then grease and flour the pan that you're going to bake this in. And then bake it for, the recipe calls for 55 minutes. Mine ended up going for an hour and 5 minutes, so an extra 10 minutes. My oven's old. I don't know if it was right at 350. Who knows? But it needed a little longer. Just do the where you poke it, and if the skewer comes out clean, it's done test. Or you could listen to it like they do on the Great British Baking Show. Like I said, I'm not a baker. Yeah, I didn't wait very long to let it cool. Cut right into it. A nice hot slice. Oh, lovely. Jerry actually had some vanilla ice cream on top of his for dessert. Was great. The fruits are now getting eaten by me and Jerry instead of actually going in the garbage, which is wonderful. Yeah, again, if you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you want to see more recipes like this. Do you make mead often? Have you ever made a mead? Have you even tried mead? I feel like there were other things I wanted to say. So make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. I forgot to ask you guys this. Look at his butt.
Are you asking?
If I had told you that the peaches and strawberries that are in this mead were destined for the garbage.
We're destined for the garbage.
Yeah, would you believe me?
No.
Tastes just as good.
They were all
That's
destined.
very cool.
They were destined for the garbage.
So we're saving the planet.
I collected them
By
from the
drinking
farmer's
this.
market. They were going to be thrown out.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Robin.
Yeah. So. Oh wow! An applause. Okay, Lainey, you're up first. In full influencer fashion, LA influencer, LA content creator fashion. I brought my tiny mic. Do you have anything you want to cross promote over on my channel?
Do you want to take me out for a drink? You can. Okay, great. Thank you.
Before, introduce yourself. Let the people know where to find you over on Spotify and other platforms.
Artist name is just my name, at Ryan Zachos. That's nachos with a Z, Zachos. On Instagram, X. I think I have a Facebook and Spotify as well. Yeah, listen to all the, and TikTok, of course. Okay. Of course.
Becky, you can find her over on the socials and Spotify, Becky with an I.
Becky with an I. BECKI. And on Instagram is I am BECKI Park.
My shoulder's getting tired. Sonia. Oh, okay, I'm gonna rest my arm on the table. Sonia, do you have anything you want to cross promote on?
Lane needs someone to take her out for drinks, so.
Yeah.